how was that house set up? How many people lived in it? Where did they sleep? Where did they have dinner? That kind of thing. And these are the kinds of questions that people who come into this museum are going to want to ask. And they're going to want answers to them. And if possible, they would like very specific answers to. Now, I was just talking to Len about this, and we were commenting on how insignificant this house looks. It's tiny. It looks like it has a door and no windows, except for a window in the gable. That's the only one I can see. I can't see any windows in the front or on the side. But I think it must have had a window in front here, and it probably had windows on the sides too. And furthermore, without any aim to seem grandiose about it, I know that he was an extremely prosperous man and a member of the city board, and his house must have been a fairly substantial house. It wasn't just a shack, but it certainly looks like a shack in that picture. To me, what this says is that in looking at this picture, we need to interpret certain things, and we can't judge the status of the house or the status of the people who lived in it just by looking at this and using our own judgment. Because if we are aware that the person who lived in that corner house was a wealthy city official, we have to say, hey, what does that tell us about this house?
Yeah, I don't think you can tell people that this is an accurate depiction of what this house has looked like. Right. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a word of caution, unfortunately. I mean, however much I would love the Costello plan to be an accurate depiction of New Amsterdam, the reason why it was produced was not to show the architecture, but to show any land speculation. So, and you even see that for maps, historic maps of Amsterdam, that there are known buildings on it that do not resemble the actual architecture. So I think there needs to be a combination of what Len has done as well. We know the building contracts, or we can as much manuscript information as we can find, combine that with what we know about the architecture in Western Europe during that period, and we shouldn't only look at what's happening in the Dutch Republic, but also in all the areas where the settlers came from, and then sort of combine it with what we see on this map, and then we can come up with some kind of idea. Again, unless we find anything concrete where it specifically says, okay, they built this house, we have a building contract that relates to a specific house in New Amsterdam before 1660 that we can then trace back on the Costello plan and see how it relates, how the two relate. I don't know. It's treading on thin ice, I think.
But there's the further dimension of that is you have to know not only about the house and the circumstances in which the house was built, but who lived there and what kind of life did that person lead? Who was Thomas Lewis? What did he do? What kind of standing did he have in the city? How big a family did he have? And all of this biographical and genealogical information is the kind of information that I have been assembling on in this case, and that can be assembled on these people through very painstaking research. But
I think
putting it together, it fills in an important part of the picture.
We're going to discuss that, I think, in the third session on domestic life.
Okay.
That would fit perfectly.
And then we have his garden here, which is part of the picture, because he not only was a shipping merchant, but he had a blacksmith house and a distillery in the backyard. And so he carried on a trade in Manhattan, as well as carrying on overseas business. And clearly he had, I imagine these must be orchard trees, that they were fruit-producing trees, and he probably had an herb garden and vegetable garden in this little area. So to me, this whole picture tells a lot about lifestyle.
But we should, maybe at this point would be a good time to point out that Havemann devoted recently to the Gardens of Manhattan, which Ruth wrote, and maybe you'd like to comment on some of these household gardens.
That's going to
first.
be in domestic life.
No, what I was thinking more of, well, yeah, we guess we could do
Yeah,
that.
that's, well,
Now, let's
we
hold
don't
on.
have anything
Okay,
to talk
well,
about in
but
domestic
the,
life. We can talk about it.
one other point about the Costello plan, and I think this is one that maybe George could address. In this new age, this new technology that exists, how difficult is it in a virtual model to implement changes in scientific data? So for instance, we know something about one of these buildings. You created it in the model. Some archaeology occurs. All of a sudden, we now find out the building has this shape. It's got a slightly different configuration. The virtual model exists one way. How hard is it to change it to easy? And that's the wonderful thing. I can go on about that.
No, I mean,
It's alive.
Yeah, it's information.
An organism.
It's data. It's the way I look at these things is that it's a database, as in any database, whether it's text or visual or three-dimensional or two-dimensional. You update your record, and in this case, if your 3D model changes because of added information, you update that record in your database. You then insert it back in. Each probably would end up each house or each piece of land would be an object in your database, and then you would update that record in your database. In this case, because it's you probably want to do it as piece of land, not house, because there's gardens and orchards and things like that, which will have its own information attached to it. So yeah, it would be easy, and it should be easy.
I'd like to add just one footnote to this that illustrates something Charlie was saying earlier. Thomas Lewis, as you might guess from his name, was not a Dutchman. He was in fact an Irishman. He was from Belfast. But he had family and trade connections with Amsterdam and with the West Indies and South America, presumably. And he lived all over these places in his lifetime. He grew up in Belfast. He had family in Amsterdam. He lived in Albany. He married an Albany girl. Then he moved to New York, and he traded on ships back and forth to all over the Caribbean. I think that's not untypical.
Yeah, there were
It's
Irish.
the international
a lot of
aspect
Irish.
of the
Wild
Netherlands.
geese.
And it's the Atlantic basin
Yeah.
group that you're
There was a
talking
guy
about.
in Beverwijk, the Ears, he was known as the Ears of the Irishman.
Well, that's what Thomas Lewis was doing.
Yeah.
Thomas the Irishman.
Yeah, and the head of the horsemen down on Curacao was Fitzgerald. He spelled it like it was Fitzgerald.
And Lewis was
an Irishman.
Lodovicson.
Yeah.
Question, Charles?
Yeah.
In terms of the architecture and using the Costello plan for the footprint, I'm very impressed with the streetscape. I'm scratching my bald head over the footprint of the houses. How many dated house plans are there for Manhattan proper that you found, if any, prior to 1660?
Well, I've so far I've been able to, and Charlie actually helped me find another one. There are about 20 to 21 surviving building contracts for all of New Netherlands.